Ooh, Mr. Pennings liked the stream. That's a great stream we had going. Where is the man? That's a good question. That's a good question. Checks text to Twitch. Do. Okay. Let's go over here. All right, here's the Friday Night Live post. All right. Hey, Raise the Curve. How's it going? We've got 15 minutes to go till the tournaments start, right? So I could give you guys a warm-up puzzle of some kind while we're hanging around. Night Owl's hanging in there. Yeah, I'm a night owl too. I'll probably be getting a little burst of energy soon when the kids go to bed. Let me see if I can think of a little puzzle-a-bitch to give you all. Let's go analysis board. Just having fun. Yeah, there might be people who prefer 60-30 or 60-10. But there's also people who prefer 90-30. So this one particular time slot is reserved for those people. You've solved it for white already. Resign. Yes, but we have not yet set the position entirely. Okay, we've got a position up now, and it's black to play warm up, right? Got this thing here. Hey, Cartier! It must already be the early hours of the morning for you. Woo! Is it really black to play? Yeah, really black to play. Wait, that's because the position's wrong. I see why you're asking. Alright, let's copy the position. A new drama update? Okay, that looks good. A new drama update. Kramnik has sued Chess.com for various reasons, such as not being paid for using his bot and not answering his emails. Okay. All right. For those of you who want to play the tournament starts in 15 minutes. That's going to be the real thing. The games in 15 minutes. This is just a little warm-up. Exercicio. While we wait, let me see who we've got over here in the tournament. No participants yet. Let's try this one. See if it's working. No, it's not working. Try again. 1600 plus. We have a participant there. Messages. I've got messages. Okay, well, there's 15 minutes to go. People will find their ways to the tournament by then. All right, here's your little puzzle for black. Yeah, the bot thing, I imagine that for using somebody's likeness, you need, at minimum, their permission. Maybe some kind of contract, potentially some remuneration. I don't know if they have, I mean, they've got so many bots, I assume that they would have gotten people's permissions for making the bots, I think? No? Logically? I don't know. Hi, Leviathan. Is there a Kramnik bot on chess.com? Let's see. Play bots. Open link in new tab. I don't even know, so let's just go verify. World champions. 9 world champion bots. World champions. Tal. Hoi Fan. Not a world champion. Magnus. Paul Morphy. Lasker. Dingley Ren. Sort of a world champion. Kostenyuk. I don't know. Vichy. And Capablanca. Is he suing them for using his likeness or for not using his likeness? Maybe he's suing them because he feels slighted that they didn't use a Kramnik bot. They deleted it. That makes sense too. They deleted it. Sneaky. But the internet remembers there was one. I would be surprised if they didn't have his permission. Definitely would be surprised. Oh, they're going to add Gukesh. Nice. They'll remove Kramnik and add Gukesh. The bots are the dumbest thing to begin with. Yeah, I guess Mikhail Tal, I don't know how it works for people who are dead, if you have the right to use their likeness immediately, or if you have to ask their family members, if there's some period of time after which the family's rights to them expire. I don't know. I have not heard about any rating farming. Just having fun. In general, Indian players are underrated. So I wonder if... Ah, is that right, RKJ? I didn't catch it, but honestly, it's not been the topic that has really seized and held my attention throughout the year. I've been more interested in seeing how Erigaisi, Gukesh, and Noterbeck and Prague are faring against the top players in the world. That's been sort of like my main interest this past year. The World Championship match starts fairly soon, Cartier. It's in November. Maybe it starts on the 25th, if I'm not mistaken. I think it might be. Oh, Just Having Fun knows everything as far as what's going on and says the 25th. All right, speaking of Eric Geisy, do I think we might have a new world number 1? He's now up to 28-10. Are you asking if I think he's currently better than Magnus, or are you asking if I think his rating is going to cross Magnus's at some point soon? Or maybe a little of both. Eric Geisy has been consistently playing at a plus 2800 level this entire year. So the odds that he's playing at like a 2850 or so level and that his rating will get there at some point seem pretty high right now. One could always suffer some setbacks. People could maybe get a better handle on him, prepare for him in some way, adjust how they play against him a little bit. But I feel like by now he's been around long enough that people have been studying his games. The top players haven't played him yet, really. Very, very few games, right? Because he's been playing, opens and lower level events. So there haven't been a lot of head-to-head encounters yet between Aragaisi and players who are top 10 players who are, a little more old and established. He hasn't played Nakamura, I don't think. Caruana. Now he's in a tournament with Aronian is there at least. I don't know if there's anybody who can really if there's many people around to get a handle on him and hold him down. I guess right now, overall, it feels to me like he is going to get to about 2850 and surpass Magnus on the rating list. That's kind of what it feels like to me right now. But, if Magnus's rating is a bit low right now for Magnus. If Magnus cares and goes to some tournaments and plays well, I imagine he could raise his rating to 2850 as well, right? But, he's playing fantastic right now in the Chennai tournament, right? 3 wins with black, 1 draw with white. Yeah. Tournament starts in 7 or 8 minutes, by the way, folks. So, here are the links on the club page. We've got 2 players in the under 1600. We need 2 more for that one. And I'm sure he'll win a game with white before the tournament's over. And 1600 plus, we've got just 1 player waiting for 3 more. Well, maybe? Well, I don't know. Does anybody want to play chess tonight? Anybody in the mood? Let's look at some of the suggestions here in chat. Some people have been saying that check here, queen g3, king f1, knight d2 would be a checkmate for black. What do you guys think once it's on the board? Once we go ahead those couple moves and check our final position. You guys have all quit chess. That's what's up. Okay, so not quite a checkmate. look at it on a real board, see if that helps me calculate. I don't yet know the answer to this puzzle, by the way. That's what I love, giving puzzles that may or may not have answers. Queen g3, queen d5 is definitely an important variation, yeah. I mean, I know this position has variations that are worth calculating. That's what I know about it. I mean, it's a well-chosen puzzle, even if it's not a puzzle. That's you know, I just have a different idea of puzzles than some people. Any ideas? Anyone want to play in the tournament tonight? The under 1600 arena just needs one more player, and then there will be a tournament. Small Beak joins the 1600 plus. Nice. Okay. Well, let me give one or two variations here that I've thought of, shall I? Let's give an answer and then get set for the tournament. I mean, I didn't yet get a full answer, but this move here is a good consideration that several people thought of. Other candidate move would be queen g3, threatening some checkmates. Another candidate move would be pawn takes c4, attacking this knight. Another would be queen takes c4, like this. Yeah, RKJW. I think a lot of us are in that camp now. It may have been a very controversial take, like at some point in the recent past, but now it seems like folks have started to talk about it, and it's coming out that most people agree with you on that. Yeah, there's a European Championship in Montenegro right now where sub-super GMs are going to be fighting really hard for their situation. And, you know, Chennai has a B section, which is really great as well as the A section. The A section, by the way, in Chennai is well chosen because they've got like players who are very like active and ambitious instead of just wimpy. I mean, with maybe one exception, but for the most part, it's a very well chosen field. All right, so here are some things I've calculated. Pawn takes c4 is bad, I think, because of queen takes knight. And then if you take this knight with the rook or the pawn, either way there's queen e8 checkmate. Right? And importantly, there isn't queen c5 check. King moves, pawn takes knight, and then you've got this. For a number of reasons, one of which is that the knight is covering the c5 square. Right. So as far as I can tell, pawn takes c4 should actually lose for black. The position's tense. It's not even clear if you're looking for a winning, drawing, or equal move, right? Or a slight advantage or what. Rook g2, king g2, queen check, king here. In my calculation of this position, which might be really wrong because this position is crazy, but my calculation is you give check and you get basically a perpetual. That's what I kind of expect. And if the king tries to get away, I think you've got check, here, check. King here, check, etc. And white could try and keep the game going with this move. But I was thinking they might regret it after this. But I don't know if that's true or not, but they give this back, but actually there's queen d5 hanging in the air. Maybe they can get away with this. But I think at best we're playing for a draw here with black in this line. 1 or 2 minutes to go to join the tournaments, by the way, folks. Let me just click over here again. Under 1,600 is still lacking one person. 60 seconds to go. So, folks, if you want a tournament, here's the link for the under 1,600 section. There it is. Let's see if the 1,600 plus section is holding for a tournament. Yes, 1,600 plus is happening. There's 4 players, so we will have a tournament tonight, which I will be commenting. And so it's just for the under 1,600s. They need one more player in the next 60 seconds to have their own section of 45 plus 30. Okay, so that's down to the seconds here, down to the final seconds. This live event is over? What's going on? What happened to the YouTube? The YouTube changed links while I was watching it? That's weird. Hey Sushan, hey Frosted Pumpkin. Sorry that YouTube was hiding your chats from me. Let's see, 10 seconds to go for the under 1,600 section. Ay, ay, ay. I'm afraid this may not happen for them tonight. Oh, Spider's Laton slipped in there. And we've got a tournament off and running. Let's check out Gaurav's game. The Leviathan is Gaurav. But as we do, let's finish talking about this puzzle here real quick, right? Then we'll get into the tournaments. Okay, so here's what I was thinking for this position. I thought Queen G3 is another move that fails, right? Yeah, good luck, Clock Goblin. Have fun. We'll be watching your game in a second here. Check. Here. And then one really simple option for white, I think, is you take the knight defending the mate and the rook. And now, black's really scrambling. You're threatening checkmate on e8. I think black's probably losing with that line. So this was what I thought might be the correct solution. Queen takes c4. Yeah, so raise the curve. I'm using puzzles. Yeah, my puzzles are more practical, but they're sort of like more interesting or more key decisions or moments. That's basically how you could think of them, right? Like I'm not giving you a position after e4, e5, and then you have to come up with knight f3. But something that has some kind of intensity and question to it. So here, this move, the idea is that if takes, you're hitting the knight as your knight is hanging, and black is getting an endgame with 2 extra pawns. For example, it looks very, very good for black. You don't know for sure if it's winning, but it's a pretty good position to get to from where we started, right? Now, this move seems to run into this refutation, so this is where you need to be careful as black. You have to have calculated this move. You have to look for resources for your opponent as well as for yourself, basically, in a puzzle of this level, right? This is not a 1,200 puzzle or anything like that. This is, 1,800, 2,000, 2,200 maybe. I don't know. Somewhere in there, depending on how accurate my variations are and how hard it actually is. So when you're looking at stuff like this, you have to be looking for your opponent's resources. And here, right, like if you trade queens, you're down a piece, and you can't take the rook because you lose this. So the follow-up has to be, I think, queen takes d3. Because if rook takes knight, queen takes, pawn takes, rook takes, good luck making any attempt to win this endgame. With just the doubled g-pawn, no. Not much of a rook ending. But with queen d3, I think there's some real hope to try to win this position. This rook's hanging, so white doesn't have a lot of choices other than to go into the endgame. We can calculate rook e8 as well. with the idea of trying to keep pieces on the board to go after the king. But at minimum, black could still go queen b4 and get that same rook endgame. And at maximum, I don't know if there's anything else. I don't think there's anything else. So actually, that's an important variation to see coming as black. And then finally, white could trade, and you get this endgame. Now, again, I can't promise that this one's winning, but now you're up a healthy pawn, plus an unhealthy pawn that could help you in some scenarios where you trade one thing for another, you know. So here you've got fair chances of a black win, I would say. Reasonable. Some reasonable chances. So that's the best I found on this puzzle. Do you guys want me to computer check my answer to compare with yours? We can compare your answers with my answers with the computer answers. Why, Dabo asks, why is it that when I play junk like the Van Geet opening, which I don't even know what that is, I play better? Either, Dabo, you don't know much opening theory, so it's not necessarily that you're playing better in the Van Geet, but your opponents are playing worse because you're getting them out of theory. Or maybe like much worse, right? Or you're actually getting bad positions, but you play better from bad positions than from good positions. You know, or there's something about the Van Geet opening that suits your style, like it creates, I don't know if it creates, you know, closed positions or open positions, but whatever kind of positions it's making. Yeah, Daniel Shields, the 1600 plus arena did kick off, I believe, so you should be able to find and join it still, I think. So a few possibilities, Dabo. We don't know immediately which is the answer. All right, RKJ says the World Rapid and Blitz. Hikaru said on a stream, lots of top players are disagreeing with FIDE over the format and might not go. Okay, usually they all end up going. Usually they disagree with FIDE over something. Nice, Michael. Very kind of you. All right, I'm going to computer check this position with what we thought of. Computer says the best move by far is queen takes c4, by the way, folks. Hilariously, it suggests a candidate move that I didn't notice because I didn't put like a huge effort into this position. Normally this position would be probably like a 10-minute of focused calculation position for me, and I just kind of did a casual glance at it while talking to everybody. This move here is also about equal because of this idea here, which would be a pawn up endgame for black. Slightly better. White can actually trade the queen instead of the knight, hilariously. And then go here, here, here. And this is much more drawn. So queen c5 is not that good. Rook g2, it says, leads to a perpetual. So we got that part right too. Check here. Check here. And it says, oh, you can just check back on the third rank. Don't even need to go to g5. King can't get out this way. And you just give a perpetual. Okay, so the value of rook takes g2 check is a perpetual. But the only move that gives black an advantage is queen c4. And white's best option is this ending here. This is the best move. This is the best move. This is the best move. I saw rook e7 coming. And then rook d2 is the only move to keep the game, to keep black's advantage really significant. And, you know, it goes on. It goes on. If for our purposes, it doesn't matter if the computer says that the position is winning or not. It's clearly the best option for black, right? It's better than +1, and everything else is equal. So Michael F., if this is a tactic, it is a tactic. Rook g2, king g2, queen g3, king f1 is not unclear, but a draw by perpetual, and not our best option. Okay, that's a great puzzle. I like it. Glad I used it. I vindicated myself on that one. Raise the curve, no? Tactical puzzles for Dojo. Put it into the bank. Yeah, a bunch of bloop comes in here. Okay, this is calculation. And I would say it's 1900 to 2100 level puzzle. It's going to be what I'm going to label it as for now. Okay, on to Friday Night Fights. Anish Giri launched an OTB chess app where you put in your sort of GPS and then you find people near your house to play them. Funny. Check it out, folks. We've got the Advanced French from Gaurav. And then we get into, oh yeah, kind of aggressive system, right? Kind of aggressive system against the French here. Cool. Let me grab some water. It's called using WhatsApp. He needs a better idea. All right. Excitement. I like that these players are spending a couple minutes here thinking through the opening. I imagine they have some familiarity with it, and Gaurav has been introduced to the Dojo aggressive repertoire at some point in his brief time in the dojo. Yeah, I'm guessing that they've got some familiarity, but they're still sort of thinking about things for themselves. So it's kind of like the Milner-Berry raised the curve. Yeah, it could exactly transpose the Milner-Berry at this point, I think. But the way Jesse plays it, he won't even take on d4. If Jesse were playing, I think his move would be rook e1 here as white. I think that's kind of like an improved modern take on the Milner-Berry. I don't know for sure how much it's improved, but yeah, I think a lot of people have played around with this line. Let me open up some other games just so that we're on top of things. We've got Boondock Striker against Spiders Latan, who I don't know as well, but wow, they're into a tactical mess already. How did this come about? At first it started calm, right? At first it started calm with an early queen trade. Then Striker starts messing with that king a little bit, but for the moment they're sort of just developing. Looking to double rooks, going after the bishop. Oh, and here it gets intense. Yeah, black's going to go for knight e4. Oh, and white strikes with the tactic. They don't call him Boondock Striker for nothing, huh? Ay. Boom! Check! Check to the miserable king. Here maybe white should throw in rook d1. Since black is being slightly obliging with the tempo, I'm not sure. But either way, if this knight gets out, white's going to be up a piece, right? And maybe this is the safe route out. You could also just stay in there, right? Bishop takes pawn and just say you're taking over this whole area. Even though technically it started out on black's side of the board. Ooh, I'm having some weird pains. I used some new machines at the gym. Is that maybe why? I don't know. Feels more like hunger pains or gas or something like that. Cheers, raise the curve. Bishop takes a6. Yeah, all right. Getting in there. e5, fighting back. Yep. You got to fight back when you're behind. That's for sure. Spider. Kicking that bishop. Maybe going to grab this pawn and try and cause a little mayhem in the middle of the board. But you see, black also has this problem that these two pieces aren't out. That makes it really hard for black to win any little fight that gets started here. Really hard to win. But white could have been a little more precise maybe and avoided e5. If you want to keep the game maybe a little simpler as white, give this check, right? And then after the king backs up, oh, you still have your e-pawn hanging. Yeah, I don't know if that's better for sure. Okay, so it's unclear. So grabs it, gets kicked, retreats the bishop. So this is allowing the mayhem of knight e3. Maybe rook e1, going for counterplay. Knight g2, you know, you just keep attacking things with black as long as you can. But it looks like actually black runs out of juice at this point, right? The knight's sort of self-trapped, self-immolated. Because this is the only protected square and it's not really protected. Yeah. Entombed, not immolated. Entombed, right? Trapped itself in white's position. Okay, so Boondock Striker's move looks good with bishop g3, and it looks like there's no good moves here for Spider's Latan, which is kind of what I would expect without these pieces in great positions. It's one thing to be down a piece, it's another thing not to have your pieces coordinated, right, if you want to strike back. Oh, sorry, let me get rid of that text message there. Thank you. Delete. Games start at 8 p.m. Games have started. Let's get rid of that. Fight for join info. There we go. Boom. How's that? That looks right. Simplified it, right? PFPs are killing me. I'm sorry I don't know what those are. All right. Thanks, Jake, for I'm very monotaskish, right? When I'm looking at something when I'm analyzing a game, I don't think about what the stream looks like and stuff. Their profile pictures are killing you. Okay, let's see what are their profile pictures. Boondock Striker has like a picture of themselves next to like a life-size Gandalf doll or something like that. And Spider's Latan has, I don't know, maybe like a meme, because it's got two people shaking hands with some words on them. Do you recognize those pictures, RKJ? Is that why they're killing you, or? Spider's still thinking. So stuck at this point, it's hard to say what to do. Hard to give a good advice to black. Maybe start with g6 to bring the bishop out. That's my first and final, it's not really going to work thought. Okay, black goes for the juice. And it's on Striker to stay calm and calculate. There's that expression, stay calm and carry on, right? And I think the chess version of that would be stay calm and calculate. It's nice to see people enjoying chess. Yeah, absolutely. When your opponent plays a complicated move, when there are pieces flying, when you had the advantage, but now it's complicated, stay calm and calculate. our other game that we were watching, I'm just going to pop over for a second. Over here, we had Rook E1 played by Leviathan, like in Jesse's repertoire. And we see the player spent several minutes on this, so they're taking it nice and seriously. Clock Goblin, that's Gil. The Clock Goblin takes on C3, gobbles that pawn. I always think that goblins would gobble, right? Just the name tells you that their way of capturing pawns would be they would gobble pawns. So Clock Goblin gobbles the pawn. Knight recaptures. White's got a little bit of a development lead for the pawn and a bit of a space advantage for the pawn, right? That's kind of the idea of this gambit variation. It's very, very interesting, very exciting. You can calm yourself during a game with breathing techniques. Yep, that's one option, yeah. Jake loves these positions for white. I probably do too. I probably kind of like these for white. Cartier is another player who likes the aggression, likes being in a sound gambit as white. Yeah. And this is probably sound, so it's like the best of both worlds, right? It's like aggressive and you haven't done anything stupid to get an aggressive position. You're not like objectively losing, but trying to have fun anyway. You're just straight up having fun. What's not to love? Well, let's think about it from Black's perspective for a second. If we were Black, how should we be working on development here? The first thing that occurs to me would be bringing this knight to g6 and then playing bishop e7 to try and castle. But I know that one of the main things white does is play h4, h5, gaining space and kicking that knight. Right? So if Black plays this, I think this is a pretty obvious move for white. And now, what are we doing next with the knight? Right? If it comes here, white can take, regain their pawn, knight in the face. There's going to be these pawn sacks for attacks or knight f6 check for attack. Nothing safe here for Black. And if the knight goes to g6, then of course after h5, that's the end of the fishing trip. So knight e7 is the most obvious move, but actually it may run afoul of one of the main themes for white in this position, right? Which is just, take some more space on the king side with this pawn while Black's struggling to develop. This is in some ways a slow approach by white to a gambit, but it's based on the idea that, Black's very slow to develop and untangle. Boondock Striker won the game that we were watching. Oh yeah, it's over. It's over. So, and it finished with the variation that we had considered, right? Which was the knight gets itself trapped. Yeah. Good calculation by the striker right there. Collecting that one. All right, over to Galrav. So because this knight e7 isn't that good, Black often ends up playing this move that Cartier was just telling us about. Rook c8, developing the rook, at least the open file, some influence, some fighting, controlling knight c7 check in some positions. And, rook c8, maybe a6. Oh, Dos is Dos. You are Zlatan? I didn't know that. I've seen you a million times in Twitch, but I did not know your chess.com handle. What is this? Your analysis is dumb. This is some really great people playing classical chess games against each other for practice while I provide dumb analysis that they can then compare with their thoughts when their games are done. So when they're finished playing, they can go back on the video on demand and compare what they were thinking with the dumb things I was thinking. And, you know, whatever, draw some lessons from it. You know, comparing what they think with what somebody else thinks. So yeah, rook c8, a6 are common moves for black at this point. So, and you saved the tournament. You did, Doses Dose. Well done. Yeah, I mean, people do all kinds of stupid stuff, and it's pretty funny, isn't it, Crocat? Did you Twitch? Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. I see so many zeros. I don't even know how much you sent us. That looks like you broke the bank. But muchas gracias. Many thanks to you. How can I be an IM? Well, I spent a lot of time playing chess. Spent a lot of time playing and studying, analyzing my games. Yeah, in some sense, probably a waste of time. But then it's hard to say what would not be a waste of time, you know? Like everybody, like nobody really knows what they're supposed to do in life, but then we all make some guesses and then do things. And what I'm doing might be a waste of time, but then, you know, I could have tried doing something else and then that might have also been a waste of time. So it's hard to say. I've yet met the person who really knows for sure what was the useful thing to do in life. You're studying law and you'll be a lawyer making way more money than me. Yeah, well, if you're a lawyer, then you understand how one could make all kinds of arguments, right? How somebody could make an argument that studying law isn't useful, or that making money isn't useful, or making more money than David isn't particularly useful. Do you play chess, Croquette? Do you know what's going on here in this position? Gil's been thinking for a while here. And it is quite a tough position to pick the move as black. If you don't like really know the position well in advance, don't have any kind of preparation, it's a tricky position to figure out what to do, because the most basic developing moves, bishop and knight e7, don't look that great, you know? Maybe black could do a thing like this and put the bishop here? I'm sorry about Mubot. I don't know why it did that to you. But it seemed like a very benign comment. So you're 2200. You must have also spent a fair chunk of your time on chess, just like us, to make it to 2200. Yeah, I mean, this is a worrisome variation. Not really. Oh, wow. Some kind of a natural genius. I mean, I think Jake's not alone in being worried about black's dark square situation here. And even knowing that rook c8's the move, I don't really know how that helps black to eventually sort of sort out all the kingside pieces. Oh, true. Going bishop g7 also allows knight b5. So Cartier says black maybe just plays on the queen side. Yeah, maybe that explains, rook c8, a6, knight a5, knight c4, all these queen side kind of moves, just waiting around because he can't sort out the king side. Yeah. Oh, but that's going to be tough for Gil to come up with. I mean, such unusual moves, just accepting that we can't develop our pieces and doing other stuff. Like the normal thing that I teach in chess is if there's something you need to do, like developing, and you're like calculating it and there's some dangers or some little positional disadvantage or something doesn't work out, I say you just have to do it anyway. Like there's not going to be a way for you to play the game without tackling that problem straight up, heads on, and getting developed. You just have to do it in some way, even if it involves some concessions or some problems. So this is a somewhat rare position where you would just say, oh, well, I can't develop my pieces and do other stuff. Yeah, it's in advanced French. And the French is played at highest levels right now, Croquette, yeah. For a brief while, the French was under a cloud. Like, all the top players were dissing it and saying that knight c3 was a big advantage for white, and they were laughing and making fun of the French. And then some supercomputers analyzed it, and they found that in some super important variation, it's a draw by force, 50 moves down the road or whatever. And suddenly the French is back on the map. I can show you the variations, but I don't think it's particularly interesting to most of us, and I'm not a big fan of opening theory, so I am a little embarrassed to even know some. So I think we won't go over that. But the story of it is interesting enough without the theory. And now all kinds of top players play the French in major tournaments, and they do fine. And a lot of people have been trying the advanced variation, just like the Leviathan here. A lot of people have been turning to the advanced variation because of black finding defenses against knight c3. So the diversity of what white plays against the French has re-increased as people are trying out the advanced again. Yeah, like Pragnananda started playing the advanced French, one of the earliest players to do so about 2 years ago, and I had to take note of that. What I play a little bit of everything. I'll play e4 as white, I'll play this line as white, I'll play this line as black, I play the French as black, I play Sicilian, French, Caro, e5. Against e4, I play those 4 openings mainly. And against d4, I play Slav, semi-Slav, King's Indian Defense, Grunfeld, Benko, Benoni, Nimzo, Queen's Indian. The Frenches I know, the Sicilians I know best are Najdorf, Accelerated Dragon, and Sveshnikov. I think those are maybe the 3 best Sicilians. I don't know. They're the ones that I've focused on a little bit more than the others. And Magnus has played this gambit line as white in classical himself, yeah. So it's been seen. There's not a lot of deep engine-based theory I know, by the way, Jake. There's just, it's just, I spend enough time around chess players that every now and then I pick up something. Oh man, Gil really doesn't know what to do. Really doesn't know what to do. I don't own any chessable courses, Jake. I own 0. Croquette, as far as I know, the worst openings are f3 or g4 on move 1 for white. Those are the worst openings I know of. But every move, there are new possibilities for doing horrible things, right? Like, if you're a modern player, you may have heard of the bong cloud, right? Like, there are some people who play like this as a quote-unquote meme or something. This thing's terrible. This thing's like as bad as f3 or whatever. It's really, really awful. As Jake says, once white plays e4, this move is quite wretched for black. Giving up a pawn, not developing any pieces, and weakening your king. I mean, there's like no shortage of worst openings, right? It depends if you mean on move 1, 2, or 3. There's always more. But of main openings, that are known, there are some that are slightly worse than others, right? So like if white plays e4, the Sicilian, e5, and the French are the 3 best. The Caro is okay. It's like a smidge less good than the top 3. Then there's a bit of a gap, and you get to the Scandinavian and the Alekhine and the Pierce, which are like noticeably like a step worse than the others. Yeah. I don't know of the cow. Hi, Chess Latte. I don't know what the cow is, but yeah, it's probably not good. As Shanky says, most openings that are named after animals are not good. How do I feel about players that are playing really fast with very good accuracy? Must feel good for them. When I play fast, I don't play very well. The only animal opening that's known to be decent, I think, is the hedgehog, right? But like cheating? Oh, how do I feel about people cheating? I think they shouldn't do it. Oh, I'll borrow a phrase of yours, Croquette. I think they're wasting their time, right? Probably wasting their time. They're literally sitting around watching a chess game that they're not even playing, right? I mean, I guess we're all doing that right now, but you know what I mean. The bird and the flamingo. The cow is a meme. The flamingo is really good, though. Oh, wow. The flamingo is real, Jake? I mean, Croquette, you're at a 2200 level. You're going to encounter some people who play really good moves in 2 seconds without cheating. That's normal. Like, your rating's almost as high as mine online, and I make some good moves and some bad moves. But I can definitely make some good moves in 2 seconds over the course of a game. You'll see it happen several times. All right, there's a move to be found, as RKJ points out. Knight to b4. Deep think, 20 minutes of reflection. Rarely all the game, Croquette. In a blitz game, I might play, some good moves now and then, but I'll also play a couple blunders. Sometimes it feels sus, but that can just be us, worrying too much. And people worry that their opponents are cheating far more often than their opponents actually cheat, right? Well, there are 2 obvious moves, and so it's a question of choosing between them. Bishop b1 and bishop f1, right? We definitely want to keep the bishop. Black's cramped, and they're looking for a trade to help themselves out. Probably both of these moves are good. You can then play a3 and emerge with the bishop in a moment. Kind of get the same position. You could also try throwing in bishop e3. Yeah, perfectly good move to consider. Yeah, queen a4 is less good than the bishop moves. Got 3 real candidates for white. Yeah. I also noted that it was a gambit. Je l'ai noté. Very slow gambit. So in classical, I mean, it's up to the players how to use their time. They've got a fair amount of time, right? They can try and play some moves quickly and then really think for 10 or 20 minutes on a couple key moves, or they can spend 2 to 3 minutes on each move. That's kind of up to them. Lower rated players will probably more often spend 1 or 2 minutes on each move, and then as they get better, there will be some moves where they're confident to play fast and other moves where they see there's really an important decision to be made and they have to push themselves to look further ahead, and you'll see them spending 10 to 20 minutes on a really key move. These players are using a lot of time quite early in this game, which is like mildly unfortunate. Like, you don't want to have spent more than half your time before move 10 like Gil. But sometimes the position's so tough that you feel a little forced into it. Maybe bishop c5 after bishop e3. Right, so there's an important little tactic here. Bishop e3, bishop c5, white would have knight a4. It hits both pieces. Black has to take. White takes with check, so black doesn't have time to trade off. And yeah, then it's a little uncomfortable, right? If the queen comes here, there's bishop b5. Bye, Croquette. Have a great day. Thanks for dropping by. Hope we didn't waste too much of your time. And I would say good luck with law school, but I figured out that you're not in law school. So I just say good luck with whatever useful thing you come up with to spend your life on. So it might be something like knight c6, and then the game kind of continues like so. Maybe like black's not doing so badly. Hang on. Maybe we need to. Oh, I was gonna say maybe we need to get our queen, our rook into the 7th rank while we can. But there's knight d3. So here we can give the check. If knight c6, I think it probably loses to rook c6. So let's say king d8 to keep the rook out of here. Then maybe a3 or knight g5. I mean, black's still alive. This is not that bad for black, actually. White has full compensation, surely. But not kicking black's behind or anything too dramatic. Knight c6. Okay. Let's do this. Let's take and then play bishop b5 before rook c1. Now the queen can't go to b4 because the knight has been pinned. Right? So we go here, and then black's going to play a move like knight e7 to support it. We go rook c1. Queen has to go here. But black's just going to castle and give back the pawn. And it's not really going to be worse, are they? To me, this looks really close to equality. So that says that black wants trade so much that this line is not that bad. Isn't that interesting, folks? White hasn't moved yet. But yeah, this was started by a conversation in chat that was really interesting where Grayson was saying maybe answer bishop e3 with bishop c5. I know trading dark squared bishops is bad for black, but you get a piece out, right? That concept was has been borne out by our first bit of analysis here, right? Which says that after bishop e3, bishop c5, knight a4 forcing variation, it's not so easy at all. You know, I don't know exactly where you want rook c1, Cartier, but in general, I mean, in most positions, it's hard for white to really crush black after these pieces are traded. Suddenly black has room to complete development. And I don't mean that white's busted or anything. White's had a position that was, as I said, pretty close to equal. So it's not like white's dying, but they're not crushing either. Sometimes you can try and play both sides like this. Don't try and win back the pawn. Come over here. We've got a move from white, by the way, bishop b1. Not this bishop e3 move that could have led to a trade. You can switch over like this, right? With the idea that if black comes here, you know, we go into attacking mode. And if knight to g6, we're looking at h4 and h5, pestering the king. And this is probably also playable, queen g4. Probably like compensation for the pawn, but not more. So the game goes on. You can play like this, but black's also not dead. The trades are really seemingly relieving black's position, from what I can tell. And I'm still pretty new to this line, so it's just by playing out variations that we slowly get a handle on the evaluation of positions that we're unfamiliar with. And I'm unfamiliar with this one, and you know what I have learned just now is that, you know, bishop e3, bishop c5, not so clear that white wants to do that. So white just keeps the pieces on the board with bishop b1, and it really makes sense. You know, white can always play a3 and emerge with the pieces. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, we've got a question from Abject Pawn, who's been in the tournament here and played 1 or 2 games already against other people. GG's, I'll play maybe one more. I will be playing in a tournament tomorrow, and I have a quick question. I've been playing the kid against d4, but I want to switch it up. I was told to switch to the Benoni since it suits me better with the ideas I play. I have not looked too in-depth into it, but should I play it in the tourney? If you're feeling like it, sure, go for it. It's somewhat similar to the King's Indian in that you put a bishop on g7, the position is very aggressive and very risky, and you've got a lot of counter chances. And a lot of positions where you end up kind of cramped. So yeah, I mean, you can play it if you feel like it, sure. Mikhail Tal used to play it. Do you like Mikhail Tal? Does Mikhail Tal's chess resemble yours at all? He's probably, like, historically speaking, the greatest Benoni player. You know, of course, more modern players have played it and played it maybe a little bit better than him because they had studied his games, right? So, like, Vugar Gashimov may have played the Benoni even a little bit better than Tal, but in terms of, you know, in terms of overall contributions to the opening, I think Tal is a pretty good example of a... And there's the a3 move. So white kicks the knight back, regains some space. People tell you you're an attacking player, but you secretly love endgames. Do you love attacking too? The more different aspects of chess you love, the better off you are. The Benoni is advantageous for black in the endgame generally because of the queenside pawn majority. So in the Benoni, what's risky about it is you're taking a cramped position and the pressure is on white to kill you in the middle game. And kill you they often do. So if you're willing to occasionally have sort of an abject cramped position, you can certainly play that opening and hope to get some endgames. All right, so RKJ, you're thinking white needs to stop black from playing d4. I don't see why that would be a big deal. Knight a4 could be reasonable. I think in general d4, knight e4 is no problem for white. Yeah, as Cartier points out, right? We could allow this. I don't think that's an issue. The question is, you want to play a move like bishop e3, but not have queen takes b2 hit you. To me, the number one candidate move here is b4, taking more space. Kind of like a theme of the advanced French for white. To me, b4 is the main theme. My reasoning behind that versus knight a4. So if you go knight a4, queen here, you're almost wishing this knight could threaten to come to b5, right? These squares are not that weak for black. They can even play b6 if they want to keep the knight out of here, right? So here's my thinking with b4, is that now we're threatening to go bishop e3. Bishop e3, queen c7, knight b5, crushing. Right? And against knight g6, maybe this h4, h5 is still good enough. So we go b4, and one possibility is that black plays the move a6, right? Because there, against bishop e3, the queen can come here and there's no knight b5. So that's quite possible, right? But this gives white a couple possibilities, right? One possibility is you go b5, kicking the knight, and they can't take. Another possibility is that you can just sort of go knight a4, and now you get into these squares. So basically, by making black worry about a knight b5 continuation, you get them to play this pawn move, which creates more squares for your pieces to target. And when you have a little bit of an initiative in chess, this is one of the best things that you can do, is get your opponent to like continually try and cover some weak square with a pawn move. Because eventually they've moved too many pawns and created too many weaknesses, and they can't make any more pawn moves to cover those weaknesses. So yeah. Grayson's saying maybe, that this is why they switch, and RKJ saying maybe a5 here, right? So a5, yeah, certainly. But after bishop e3, if your queen gets kicked to c7 or d8, white might have a good knight b5 again, right? Maybe. But it's possible. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what they come with. Oh, b4 was played, by the way. After 3 minutes. Bravo to Gaurav. Dang. Gaurav might be 1400, but seems to understand this opening about as well as I do already. You know, people have different strength levels in different openings, endgames, etc., right? So if your rating is 1459 like Gaurav, it's an average of how good and bad you are in all kinds of different positions and what decisions you make and how often you correctly go for the positions you're good or bad at. Sometimes you could be like a 1600 player in average level, but you continually play into positions where you're like a 1300 because you don't know your own strengths and weaknesses. And so that biases your rating down compared to how good you actually are. So anyway, you know, in any particular opening, you've got sort of a level of experience and skill in the opening. And yeah, Gaurav finding b4 is a very good sign for Gaurav's understanding of this opening. Yeah, so here white can go some version of knight a4, knight c5, or bishop e3, knight a4, looking at the b6 square as well. And that looks quite nice for white. It's not the only option, though. So, let's see. We can also play h4 here. Yep. totally. If we're going to play something like bishop e3, we'll have to worry about this pawn, right? So in this variation I gave before, a6, bishop e3, queen c7, knight a4, white's got to worry about knight e5. So yeah, we just have to be careful. Black can also go knight g6, attacking the pawn more. I say that to say that if our plan is to go h4 and h5, we might not even want to play bishop e3. It looks like a tempo, but it blocks the defense of e5, right? So if we're not planning to quickly go into these two squares, it might be better to save the tempo and just play h4 and, I don't know, maybe bishop d3. An Arjun move. Yeah. Everyone's allowed to play h4 in these positions now. If you know this line, you know that h4 is the theme. Welcome to the fight, Shirogorov. I'm sorry that we upset you so much with our Kamsky omission the other day. It seems like you've recovered your health, for which I am grateful. By the way, folks, sometimes this knight here goes to c8 in this line. I'll just mention that as a thing. Because when white plays h4 and the knight can't go to either of these squares, I've seen it sometimes go to c8. And then the bishop can come to e7. Right? Some people who know this line better than me will probably confirm that I'm right. That's a thing that happens. The Hans omission, yeah, I mean, basically top 10 U.S. players of all time, like, you can't include somebody like Hans or Abhimanyu Mishra because they haven't had their career yet, right? It'd be 20 or 30 years from now that they could be discussed in that context. We were pretty much only talking about people who were in the top 3 in the world at some point, with the exception of Jesse and the American players from the 60s and 70s that he's played with. Other than that, yeah, we were talking about people who were in the top 2 or 3 in the world at some point. Hans is definitely one of the top 10 American players right now in terms of strength. Yeah, I mean, according to the way we did it, Shirogorov, we would have probably had Kamsky as a top Soviet player, right? I think. We did think about it some. I mean, Kostya was kind of in favor of the most inclusive definition, which was if you have any association with the U.S., you count. But we didn't want to go overboard and start, putting like Steinitz and Lasker and then not talk about some of the players we did talk about who are just a little bit lower down the tier list. Yeah? I don't know. Oh, is that serious, RKJW? Hans was uninvited from 2 tournaments because the other players didn't want him in the tournament with them? He published a video on his Twitter. Well, first of all, he's a liar. So if your only source is Hans, you can't be sure that it's true, right? But if it is true, good for those players for speaking up for themselves and what they want. In general, chess players have been very, very bad about speaking up for what they want, Like they let FIDE and everybody do whatever they want to them. It would be great if the players ever sort of spoke up for themselves and banded together a little bit. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, everybody has to pick some kind of definition, right, Shirogorov? So you're saying peak and prime. Jesse was focused on, like, chess development. It's just a different criteria, It's not necessarily wrong. Because Jesse's kind of curious, like, what's the greatest players that the U.S. as a chess culture has produced? You see what I mean? So... Okay, so RKJ, that would confirm it. Yeah, Chess Base India and the organizers of the Gashamov Memorial confirmed it. Well, I think it's great, Hosta Mahogi. If he wants to play more, he might have to, mend relationships with other professional players. He's been an absolute jerk to the whole chess world, right? So... makes sense that he would have to make some kind of amends to avoid being blacklisted. Okay, Shirogorov, you think that what other people think is just stupid if it's different than you, but I mean, you can see that I see what you're saying as being reasonable, and can you really not see that this other criteria might also be reasonable? H4 from Leviathan. Dang. Look at Gaurav. It's like a professional player of this opening variation here, huh? How many chess players do you know of who could hold off on this like tempo move, right? How many people? I mean, it's hard. It's hard to hold back when you can win a tempo, right? Okay, Gil plays queen c7. Nice move. Looking at some tactics around this knight. I could even see this bishop going to b2 here just to defend the knight. Weird move it would be. You could also play bishop d3 here on the theory that these like knight sacks are going to be... that white's development is going to be enough, right? So like takes. It's not nice to move the rook like this. I don't know. It's two pawns. Black's got their chances. Well, RKJW, it seems like a lot of other people didn't want to play him, right? So it means maybe you don't know how a bunch of professional chess players feel, but I think if a lot of people don't want to play with someone, it's pretty reasonable for them to express that they don't want to play with that person, yeah? See where we are. Knight a4 played, getting out of the way of the tactics for the moment. All right, so... abject pawn. I think you might just have to go tonight if that's when you wanted to go. They chose not to go on your schedule, so they'll find another solution for themselves, maybe? When you're playing a tournament, you gotta follow the schedule that works for you, probably. Knight g6, right. So against h5, you can take here. You can see that Gil is well versed in what's going on here as well. If you would prefer, use the phrase entirely unreasonable. Yeah, Cartier is also saying bishop b2. I mean, the pawn needs to be defended. Bishop b2 played, and Gil bashes out b5. Gil came to fight. Heck yes. Really finding all the like tough moves that concretely are annoying for white. Well, that's kind of you, Abject. I hope that you have a great tournament nonetheless. Okay, I'm going to step away for 30 seconds. And I will be back as soon as I can. I'm going to leave this game running here for everybody. Be right back. Yo. Okay, so white brought the knight back. Yeah, black cannot take on e5 here, right? Like, boom, boom, boom. Super boom. So, moves for black. h5 to keep the knight there. It's got its issues. The main issue with h5 would probably be extreme violence from white, like this. Right? With a good chance that black's dead. Very, very good chance. Or use something like bishop e7, white goes h5, and then what? You go to h4 or something? Thank you, thank you, Vyacheslav. Why not queen b8, then collect e-pawn? That's exactly what it is, Elise. So, Phyrostigma, you're saying move the queen back and then take this pawn? Vyacheslav of the Vyacheslav Rutar scoring system, indeed. So when I play h5, you're going to take? Apparently. Boom. Boom. We're going to do this boom again. All right, it's not as impactful without your queen there, but still looks like a decent move. Now what? Some chess movies. You've only watched Pawn Sacrifice and The Queen's Gambit, which is great. The only like supremely good one that I think you haven't seen is called Searching for Bobby Fischer. We've got a move, by the way. Rook to b8. Now it's white to play, and I think the move h5 is probably what we expect here. I haven't seen the movie Queen of Katwe. I read the book. I enjoyed the book, so maybe the movie's good too. And if Elise is recommending it versus asking about it, then I would trust her recommendation. There's some decent ones. There's a movie of the Illusion Defense. That's fine. It's not like amazing, but it's okay. Apparently there's a short video with Capablanca called Chess Fever. You could try to find that. That might be interesting. Leviathan now with a little less time than Gil. So, I have not seen Rematch, no. I have not seen The Dark Horse either. Or Dangerous Moves. Jesse may have personal beef with Kavutskiy. No, I don't think he does. I think none of us have any beef with Kavutskiy at all. Yeah. Hey Thorchess, thanks for the raid. H5. And yeah, Gil just backs up like he's got to. Maybe the knight's headed this way. What a deep move, Rook b8. Just hanging on. Hanging on. So I think this bishop wants to move to let the rook here, but if black goes How fast can this knight get to c4 to plug it? Let's race. Yeah, it makes it. Huh. Wow, Gaurav, I don't know what to do. This guy Gil's... I mean, you're playing all the right moves, I think. You're doing everything I would want to do for white, but this guy Gil is not giving anything up. Doesn't Jesse have a beef with Agard? Not that I know of either, Doses Dose. I mean, we've talked about his books, and he never mentioned anything. I mean, Jesse and I have talked about Agard's books without Jesse ever mentioning a beef. You would just push over here, F-Twitch, like A4, just trying to open something, right? While this guy's not castled yet. That's logical. Yeah, makes sense. Gil's very solid here, yeah. Is that a game from today, Hosta? Classical game with Blunderfest. Oh, that's heavyweight matchup. Up to here, they're playing quickly. This is sort of known stuff to Masters, pretty much. Oh yeah, I think Agard has an unusual take on who was world champion. So Jesse and he would disagree about who was or wasn't world champion. But I don't think that would count as personal beef. I mean, people can... Oh, it was perfectly understandable, Shergorov. I don't think that's beef if you just have a different opinion about something. Maybe here A takes, Hosta. To keep the D6 square covered in the middle of the board. Oh, I mean the D6 square is about to show up, huh? Right, here you have to fight back because white will just bring their pawn to F6 otherwise. The position's definitely risky right now. Ay, now he's hitting you. Now he's hitting you. Ah! Yeah. Brutal. The c4 move felt wrong, but I don't know what else you're supposed to do with the floating bishop at this point. So I think here you need a different move after queen e4, probably. Do you still have an hour and 33 at this point in the game? You have an hour and 33 when you lost? Why am I even looking at the moves if you didn't look at them during the game yourself? What? Okay, well, for what it's worth, here, after queen e4, you need... Oh, your bishop was attacked too, huh? Pfft. Annoying. This is where it gets hairy. Man, that poor piece couldn't find a way onto the diagonal. Queen e4 was really good by white. You just felt white's power from the strength of their moves and felt discouraged by their power. Didn't want to invest your effort in a potentially losing endeavor. Why try if you're not going to win, huh? Queen d2 to be able to transfer the queen to the king side. Logical move from Gaurav. h6. Man, this way, I mean, the masters can learn from how much these 1400s are thinking about their moves. I'm sure this is a game where they can feel each other's power. It's like one good move after the next. The repartee, no easy gimmies anywhere, but they're both still fighting away as hard as they can. I forget the name of the person who was saying a4, but they may have been right. There's no other way to play the position other than to try and set up a4 to open up some part of the board. FT Twitch or F Twitch 85 some while back. Seems like you maybe need to play a4, so it's a matter of setting up the right moment to do that. You play a4 here, knight b4 takes... Shows you how good rook b8 was from Gil, right? Incredible. Doesn't really seem to achieve that much for white. I mean, black was just captures the pawn. But, you know, there's always like little tricky things that you can do in chess. Like, you know, here, check here to keep that defended. I guess there's bishop c4. Bishop d3 played. And d4 quickly from black. Ooh, that's controversial. That is controversial. Oh my god. Now it's going to heat up with 10 minutes each. f4, f5. Yeah, that makes sense, Jake. That would also be a pawn break, and that's what white's in need of, right? At this point, they can't just overwhelm black by putting rooks on the c file, since black's got this plan of playing knight c4. So... But okay, now black themselves is initiating something concrete that's going to... I mean, at first blush, it feels like it could give white chances, but black may have something in mind that's really going to hurt white as well. Like maybe against knight e4, he's going to come here, defend the pawn, and stop knight d6, and prepare for more development. We would basically have to try g4. Looks good, g4. I don't think it's that. Okay, yeah. Leviathan's moved, knight e4. Now we'll find out if Gil has in mind knight d5 or knight f5 or something else. You guys both think rook c1 instead of g4? What was wrong with g4? Didn't that crush black? The knight had nowhere to go. Knight d5, maybe take the pawn back. You prefer old man chess. Okay. Well, if you want old man chess, you can certainly have it, I guess. Against knight d5, we could play either rook c1 or again knight d4, depending on how old you guys want to be. I mean, knight d5, rook c1, queen b6, you might be regretting you didn't take the pawn and played all the time in the world old man moves. Knight d5 played. I mean, you might want to take it while you can, you know, not to get super tactical on you guys, but the pawn's attacked twice, defended once. And if we don't take it now, black might defend it next move. Well, you guys win. Rook c1 it is. I should say I've been suffering from extreme chest pain for an hour now, so it might be hurting my ability to think about chess. I don't know why. I don't know why. I stepped away and talked to a doctor for a minute when I took a break earlier. Yeah, I don't get why d4 either, Viral Stigma. It seems to just have loosened the pawn and given white some more juice. We'll see. But now queen b6 comes in. That was my concern with rook c1, was that black would play here and defend the pawn. They do. See what white does next, what white's up to here. Now you want to go back to b1. Now that you're not trapping your rook. Yeah, it's it feels good, I guess, to do all that. And then if black goes bishop e7, maybe you can prevent castling with queen d3 and not let them do this yet. I've got a doctor here at home, Elise. Like angina or like a panic attack? I don't know. I don't know, like a lot of pain. Like I ate something bad or did something wrong at the gym today. I don't know. Queen b6, knight c5 played. Somebody had suggested that earlier. One of the rook c1 folks had said this would be the move, which makes sense. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, F Chicken. You bought double spicy and injured your insides, huh? I did also eat spicy food at lunch myself, so that might also be this crazy pain, but it doesn't really make sense. Yeah, finish your food for sure. My food was not particularly spicy by my standards. It feels like it starts here and goes up to here. Like the upper half, the entire upper half of my torso. Anyway. My partner didn't seem too concerned, so I'm just soldiering on, but it is a drag. Could just be indigestion, indeed. It's just a lot more painful than I would expect that to be. Bishop e4. Okay, so this bishop backs up. Oh yeah, because, I mean, not because this bishop's so great, but then your king's stuck in the center, maybe? Also, you can't really castle without knight takes bishop attacking all your pieces. Okay, so black backs up the bishop. I guess that makes sense. And white goes bishop e4, looking at trades and e6. Dang, this game's on some level. Quite the level. Feels like gradually black's getting pummeled by white's initiative now, right? Like gradually the threats are becoming more and more unpleasant, more and more concrete, and black can't finish the development. To me, and you guys all know this is not high-level commentary today, but to me the turning point was d4 from black. That seemed to let white do stuff. And maybe my alternate suggestion for black would have been knight here, knight b6, bishop e7. Maybe that'll help. That was not enough just yet, but maybe. Maybe we'll get there. It is a good practice, Shirogorov, for sure. It's good to practice situations like studying when you're tired or when you're in pain or when you're not feeling it, because you never know when you'll need that in some other situation to be able to really bring out your, not your best, but your closest to your best in a tough situation. So what to do as black here? I think probably you just got to play bishop e7 now. Bishop e7 at least softens the impact of e6, right? Because you want whatever you can get on the e-file in that case. You can also keep trying to support this square, but then it seems like you're giving white a free hand and you don't have a plan to get out ever. I don't think we ever uploaded a Drunky Plock. It was just some games I played. Yeah, I don't think we saved it anywhere, Drank a Pluck. I've got it on a drive of mine somewhere. Okay, so black trades. It's an option for getting the king castled. Now this bishop's not good. The king's weird. Everything's weird now. What if we tried to come up with a defense for black? At least this and e6 is no longer a big threat because black can just take it with the bishop now. To train for next time. But I think white basically wants to take on d4. Recapture the pawn. Keep putting pressure on the file. On the c file. Maybe this bishop should come here? If I'm really trying to defend black's honor. Oh, my kids were putting stickers on me today, Viral Stigma. I mean, this bishop is amazing in this opposite colored bishop position. The b2 bishop. Position still looks quite challenging for black. Gill down to 4 minutes. This is the current position here, Dave, after the trade on c5. Gill still thinking here. Could we bring this knight back now to support that square? Bishop d4, queen d8. Yeah, I was thinking the same, Fried Chicken. I was like, that's like the last thing. Oh, this is pathetic. Pathetic. Okay, what's happened? What'd I miss? I mean, stuff has to happen quickly. They've got so little time, right? Castles, takes pawn, gets the queen off the diagonal of the bishop. Fair. Now. I mean, it's still a game. Gill's, you know. I mean, they're playing like grandmasters instead of 1400s. Other than that, it's still a game. Ugh. So he's got this nice bishop. One idea would be you drop the rook back and try and bring the bishop into d6. That would be kind of like a thorn in black's life. It took me a moment to notice that idea because normally, you don't move your pieces back from good squares. But that could totally happen. And then, of course, there's the bishop b1 plan, threaten checkmate on h7 and see what black does about it. Other than that, not too many other plans for white. We should have our eye on this move, make sure we can deal with it. I guess for now, white has bishop f3 if they really needed to just defend the h5 pawn. And the bishop's fine on f3, so that wouldn't be like a huge problem for white. Did the stream stop and restart again while I stepped away for a moment? Bishop b1 came in. No, bishop c2, similar. Going for the checkmates. Tough moment for black. Tough moment for black. I mean, this is just a very, very clear threat. You go queen d3. Black plays f5. You take. Then both bishops rage. I mean, it's not a bad idea, Jake. It's just that this one seems so strong. It's hard for me to consider a different one. Okay, so it wants to play knight f5. Might need to play g4 to deal with that. Gil had 21 seconds when making that knight f5 move. To my eyes, white's options are like queen f4 or g4. And strongly, I just want to play g4. And Garov has not missed a beat all game. He's played a mix of aggression and, controlled. He's been sane but aggressive. I don't see any particular danger for white after g4. Nothing that black really wants to do in response. No knight c6, knight f5 anyway, kind of tactical shots. Maybe after g4, black just plays something like bishop b7. And then when you go queen d3, black plays g6. Just like, okay. Doing what I have to. All right, Boondock Striker. Take care. Sleep well. Queen d3, knight f5. Then what does white do? Oh, rook e4. d4, I guess. g4, there's queen takes d4, right? Gauras played rook to d1, not a move that was on our list. But real quick, Jake, queen d4 here, and yeah, it's not supreme. So knight e7, rook d1 is played. Not clear what that's about. Black doesn't even rush knight f5. Now queen d3 works. Black still has knight f5, no? Basically saving it. I did not see a defense to g4 on that previous move. Okay, queen e2. Avoiding queen trades for now. That's a perfectly good move. Knight f5 comes in maybe one move late, but, you know, it's possible. White could consider trading the knight and pushing e6 here. Looks like an edge for white to do that. Right, white has no knight. This is what I was trying to say that white could consider. And it's maybe threatening bishop takes g7, maybe. I thought of maybe this move and then this move. It's not super clear. And black could also perhaps play this move. Then I had thought of this move with the idea of winning a pawn, which should be good for white, or takes, defending this way, rook here, which seems good for white. White takes. No, white's still thinking. Oh, their clock just went red because they're down under a minute as well, just like black. So absolutely brutal position to have 30 seconds per move in for these players. Makes that trade. That was a 2.5 minute think when he had 3 minutes on the clock. So he put everything into it, then pushes e6 quickly. I think black's queen g5 is stronger than queen e7. More active square for that queen. Queen e7's the choice, though. Okay. So now I think Queen e5 is pleasant. Oh, that move lets black take on e6. No? Oh, he's going to play bishop c5 then. If f e6, there's bishop c5. So queen e6. Queen e6 has been played by Gil, and rook e5. And notice that the position is symmetrical now. Both bishops are open against these weak spots. So from a certain perspective, you could say the position is now equal-ish. However, it's not draw-ish, right? Equal-ish, like balanced but savagely tricky. These opposite-colored bishop middle games can easily go one way or the other. I think that white missed an opportunity here with this queen e5 move. I think it was super strong. Was there, let's see, queen g4 here? This queen's on it, right? Oh, you mean maybe last move instead of rook e5, Cartier? That's the kind of move that would try to do something for sure. Normally black would have to try and shelter the king along this diagonal, and yeah, I don't see the tactic for white here, but maybe there is. Gil now sitting pretty with 2 minutes on the clock. Tagawa is 20 seconds. Holy moly. Queen g4 here makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Played. Bishop c8. Oh my god. The bishop on d4 is not attacked, right? So not only does white have rook e6, but they have queen g7 right here. Queen g3 played. Yeah, queen g7 looked good to me. I didn't calculate it super deep, but I thought double check. King only has one square that I could see. Rook g7 check. King h8. Rook takes, check. King here, check. Here, and then check. And I think you pick up the full queen, so you get an endgame with 2 extra pawns, right? Whether black plays rook f6 or king h7 or whatever, I think white's up 2 pawns in the endgame. So yeah, queen g7 was actually there. And as Elise says, rook e6 is funny because black has this move f6, avoiding checkmate, and then you get this kind of an endgame. Nothing gets decided. So, I mean, again, maybe you could go up a pawn by sacking the queen, right? With some edge for white. But queen g7 was the best move, it looks like. Here's the game continuing. I think he means viral stigma. I think viral stigma means to check your opponent with 2 pieces at once. So not to like double check the move you're thinking of, but to play a move. This is called, I think this might be called double check. Like that. 1 minute each. You guys see what I mean about the position being maybe equal, but still really intense and savage, right? That like queen g7 was possible. That should, and rook e6. That should be all the warning or data we need to evaluate what's going on. Queen g7 is probably still playable here. Yeah, it is. It's winning. 50 seconds. It's funny, this is still the winning theme. White might end up playing a move like f4, trying to unpin this. But that would be a risky move for White's own king position. $30 seconds, 25 seconds. It's your moment of immortality, Galrav. Everybody in this room dreams of playing Queen G7. Oh, this move looks good. This move looks good, doesn't it, Jake? Is there anything wrong with this move? Oh, there may be a saving move for black with f6. That might be what's wrong with this move. You trade queens and then you can move your rook without getting wrecked, right? But black gives an exchange instead. The rook couldn't go somewhere normal because of rook e8 check, winning the queen. But maybe f6, rook e7, trade, and then like this, maybe that keeps the game going, right? Elise says f6, queen b3. You see a checkmate, ultimate? That's sick. I don't think any of us did. Hey, Caden. All right, rook versus bishop. f6, rook c8. Oh, nice move, Doc Dave. Yeah. Okay, so Doc Dave is right. After f6, white has this winning move, rook e8. And then if queen takes, you can take the rook with check, protected by the bishop, then recapture the queen. And yeah, otherwise there's not really anything for black to do. This move is just winning. Okay, so bishop d7, takes. This is our live position in the game. White's going to need a target to push the advantage of the rook versus the bishop, so you have to pick something to go after. The 8th rank, like try and trade a rook to weaken the black king, or go after the a-pawn, or aim pieces at g7 maybe. Yeah, queen f6, just letting the bishop move because the queen was undefended on e7. Could have checkmated with the bishop, but it's all right. Okay. We didn't see it, but nor did the players, but they're playing pretty quickly now. Would rook takes e6 made progress easier? Well, it depends whether it wins viral stigma, right? You mean around here? I considered it. Let's say black plays queen f7. Maybe you could play f3. Yeah, maybe you could play f3. Try and get the rook active here. Let's try this move. And you're wondering if you can grab this. Yeah. This would not be... you know, would not be clear whether this endgame is winning for white. I don't know. I thought I would just keep my rook, honestly, like white did. Go after the A pawn. I'm pretty happy with this approach from white. And I think to some extent the easiest approach would be to try and trade a rook on the back rank. You know, something like queen f3, rook a8. But grabbing the A-pawn is definitely pleasant. White's very happy to get that pawn. Maybe then put the queen on e5, where she defends this pawn and this pawn. And looks at g7 and b8, where you could trade rooks, potentially. I cannot overstate how much trading rooks would make this easier for white. Black tucks, looking for like bishop d7 or something. But queen c5 is killer now, right? Because that queen is so tucked in, she's got nowhere to go. Queen c5, super powerful, but Gowrav's still working off the 30 seconds, so it's a very impressive game, but Gowrav's not going to get every single move perfectly. But queen c5 would be a really good start. No, rook b6 going after the next pawn. I mean, it's logical. Just not as resignable as, like, you play queen c7, your opponent more or less loses the will to fight on. Now it's got to be queen c1. Oh my god, Gowrav going for immortality now. The point is that there's a checkmate on h8 when the king goes to h7. But how on earth did you see that, Gowrav, in so little time? Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, 1400s are the new 2400s. So the idea is he's threatening to take the bishop with the two rooks and then trap the queen against the king, right? But if you move the queen to avoid losing the queen, then the king gets trapped because of the pawn on h5. That's the key detail, fried chicken. And if you save the bishop, then white gets, you know, gets this pure winning endgame with that rook and queen traded off in the fanciest possible way. Yeah, so you see, gives the queen. If black takes like this, I mean, it's just simple trading, right? Which is exactly what white wants. If black takes this way here, and the fancy thing is black's got no way out of this rook to the back rank stuff. And so black just has to give back the queen, and we get this endgame here. Oh my goodness. Now, very, very easy to win with all those pieces traded. You go f3, limiting the bishop. You lift your rook somewhere, so you keep this king cut off. And then you march your king around to c5. And go after the b pawn with king and rook. So, yeah, f3, rook e5, king comes out. Rook c1 is not quite right. It's tempting. It was one of the first moves I thought of, sort of poke the bishop before the king can support it. It doesn't matter too much what he does since everything's winning, right? But this lets, in theory, the king into the game. So it was simpler to just bring your own king into the game. G4, king e7. Thanks for the raid, men. I hope you're well. Greetings. Welcome, everybody. As always, folks, my very, very strong recommendation here on following Min, Vietnam's next Super Grandmaster in the making. There's an easy link for doing the follow. For those of you just joining us from Min Stream, hi, I'm David. This is the Chess Dojo. This is Friday Night Fights. We've got viewers locked in mortal combat of classical chess. We are currently watching two 1400s play like GMs for about 3 hours. Well, maybe play like IMs, but a really insane level game they've been playing. Absolutely no relation to their level. I'll just show you one little treat, because you're probably thinking, oh, he's just hyping. David doesn't just hype. I tell the truth. I would tell you if they were playing like 500s. In this position here, White, with a minute on the clock at the time, plus the 30-second increment, found this simplifying maneuver. Queen sacks on the rook, followed by rook b8, and the point is the black queen can't escape the back rank, because if she does, the h5 pawn creates a mating net. Okay, so this 1400 just sacked the queen in this game, and that's just scratching the surface. I just don't have time to show you 50 great moves that have been played by this player today. Hey, good luck at your tournament tomorrow, Abject Pawn, or, mainly have fun, Hope you get there on time and enjoy your time there. I would love to go to a tournament tomorrow. But I'll probably be watching another Dojo tournament tomorrow from here at home. By the way, the treatment that I took downstairs seems to have reduced my pain by 30 or 40%. It was very simple. I just drank some milk in case some of the indigestion had to do with eating spicy food. And I'm in great pain right now, but not agony where I can't look at the chessboard. Here comes the White King. Good stuff. You'll notice it's harder to make progress now with the Black King in the middle of the board, right, than if we'd left our rook on the e file, just cutting it off. Like now, if you want to win, you might have to do something creative like rook h5 at the right moment. Well, maybe just rook h1 would be less fancy and more effective. And yeah, you forget it very quickly as well. Oh, now there's like a very clean simplification, and it's a sacrifice, so it's right up Gaurov's alley. Now you can really clean up here. I leave you all to it for a second. Yeah.
You need to stop streaming. It's ridiculous.
Why?
Because you're not feeling good.
I'm feeling quite a bit better after the milk.
I mean, more though.
I might drink some more milk later, but...
It seems to be insane that you're into today's stream.
Really?
Yeah. It's almost like it's 10:30, 10:18, whatever. You've done it for 2 hours. And you're feeling crummy. Stop, dude.
How's the dog?
The dog, dude.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Garo's still thinking about it. Sacking to simplify an endgame is a good feeling, says Jake. That's right, Doc Dave. We go rook here and take that bishop. And the reason that makes things so easy for us is then our king can come forward. It's basically a deflection sacrifice of the Black King. Some of you will also think of it as simplification, which it is as well. But the reason it works so well is because it leads to the king improving itself. And you can go to c5 or d5. But I'm just going to show you like the full bully king. We're not even racing for the pawn. Right? And now we can squeeze even more space out of the opponent. So they get no counterplay, and then we come over here and take it. Okay, Gaurav thinking. Gaurav knew when to stop and think. I guess there's a very simple winning move as well. Rook h5 without the sack. Honestly, you can't go wrong with rook h5, right? Exactly. Elise pointing out why I'm doing my weird looking technique where you guys might think like, what is that I am doing? If you go king c5, f5 takes h5, things can still go wrong. That's why IMs don't let anything happen. No chances. Here, we seize all the space, so this king can't ever get out. And then we clamp with the pawn structure too. Gaurav down to 1 minute. Wow. Really locked into this thought here. I expect rook h5. Welcome, Anukarma. You're welcome to join the fights if you like. They're open to everybody. Open to one and all. All right, we got to move. Rook d5 is the choice. 3.5 minutes. All right, Gaurav, king e6 and blitzes the trade. Gaurav knew what he wanted. Okay, go straight for the pawn. So that's going to give black a little counterplay with f5. You have to then not take it and just leave the tension. The black king can try and get at you, right? So you can get something like f5 takes here, a4, king here, here. And you win the race for sure, but you just have to keep your, what is it, your calm, your guts, or whatever. King e6. It's not your guts. You have to keep your cool. You're cool. You have to keep your cool, right? You have to not freak out when your opponent plays a surprising move. Composure, great. Keep your composure, you know. Like, I've seen players up to this level, like somebody plays f5 and they freak out, and if they see this idea here, you know, sometimes they'll play like something crazy like g5 and get taken. Oops. You know, or they'll just come back with the king and then they can't get back to this square here or something. You know, I've seen people blow this all the time just because when there's a move that's such a big surprise, some brains just literally shut off, right? And just do like, you know, who knows what. G5 is still winning? G5 does not look particularly winning. Is it really still winning? G5, HG, King B5, G4, FG, FG, King C4, G3. Your king's not close enough. Do G5 for memes. Yeah, white should probably take the pawn. Okay. So that's the end of the game. After King E6, King B5, F5, white just started bringing the king back. Black traded and resigned. So they didn't even race. Because now it's king here, king here, king here, 3 tempi, and then this pawn versus this pawn. I will say that in general, you get a little bit more racing chance if you go for a move like this. But definitely the white pawn gets there first and makes it. Absolutely great, incredible game. One of the best we've seen in Friday night fights in 2024. Wow. 60 plus 30, Cartier. Or 45 plus 30? 45 plus 30. But they used the whole increment times 60 some moves. So they added another hour to their time control. Wow. Yeah, fried chicken. Whoever gets a queen first is definitely going to win. And as to why they didn't play this out, it depends on the person. But Gil may have either felt, the confidence in how well sometimes your opponent's playing really well, and you just feel like, I understand they got it. You're sort of like tuned into them. You're reading their mind. You're like, they know what they're doing. That's it. It depends. Other times somebody gets like depressed if they're doing badly and they resign too soon. But here I think it's very appropriate. I mean, White's going to march that a-pawn up the board and get a queen. So it's reasonable. At this level, they definitely know how to checkmate with king and queen. So I can't play you right now, SUs. Maybe another day. Yes, I am. I think we've watched nothing but your match for the last 2.5 hours. Clock Goblin, so you'll get a really good review eventually when you've got your energy back after that one. For now, obviously, it makes sense that you might want to go to sleep and look at the game another time. I am at 1400 rating. Lies, bro. I'm not 1400, yeah. Yeah, you're too wired to sleep for a while, but too tired to think, I assume. So just a matter of processing it for a while till the brain slowly calms itself down and then goes into a mode where you can get to sleep. Bro, it says you're 1495. I'm not. I'm watching other people's games. These aren't my games, SUs. Yeah, I'm commenting on the games. We do a lot of that on this channel. We watch games from our viewers or look at games they've already played and sort of analyze them. Because if somebody's like 1300, it can be very useful for them to see the games of other 1300s analyzed. Or if somebody's like 1900, it might be very useful for them to see games of other 1900s. So we look at a variety of games from players of all level within the Chess Dojo. Yeah, no problem. I seem to be taking insults just fine today, I think. Actually, I think for whatever reason tonight, I'm handling the insults really, really well by my standards. Can I look at a game of yours? We'll give it a quick look. I'm not feeling very well today, Sue, so we'll see. Do I play games on live chess? I do occasionally, yeah. Not very often, because I like to play classical chess. It's hard for me to find other IMs or GMs who want to play classical chess with me online. Plus, I've got 3 young children, so I don't have a lot of time, period. And then I spend more time teaching other people than like doing my own chess stuff. It says you're 2500? Holy moly. So are you black then? And you've got a French drapeau here in your player picture too. Oh, of course, you're SUs. Your opponent is 2100. Holy moly. So you're in Australia, perhaps. And you beat someone 500 points higher than you today. Wow, nice. Okay, C3 Sicilian. He's overrated since I beat him. You don't know that for sure. Okay, we get some pieces coming out. I I don't think either player's really made any like mistake yet. This might not be best, actually. Because now, like, the center's kind of locked up, and you could put your queen on g4 and gradually generate an attack against black's king because of the space you have here. Okay, that's f6 is good. Does he have nothing with like knight b4 or anything here? No. Knight d4. Yeah, I think he should have played knight d4 here. It looks reasonable. Is this guy's name Coda Carter Butt French? Butt French. Oui, baguette. Okay. Okay, rook e8. Trying to fight for the e file, but you plug the e5 square. Bring the knight to a good square. And trap. And he hangs his rook. Knight b5. That was a nice move. That said, your opponent could have traded on e5 then, right? He was afraid of giving you the outpost, huh? Yeah, it's going to somewhat suck for black as well. Oh, no, I know what he should do, I think. I think I figured it out. Sorry, in my excitement, I lost the position. Bishop e5, d e5, passive. Like this. I don't know who Coda Carter is. Hey, Nate Optimist. Thanks for the raid once again. Hope you had a good day today. So, Sews, this may not look very impressive, but I think this is perhaps black's best continuation that kind of keeps them in the game. It stops knight a7 and knight d6, and by trading on e5 at this moment here, white can no longer pressure the e-pawn very well, right? So black's structure is okay. This looks like white might keep the game like black might keep the game about equal right here. Right? Now you win a rook for a piece, and so you're just kind of generally winning, and the knight on b6 is, you know, it's in no position to try and claim that this is an exchange sack or that it's going to compete with a rook. Going after e6, taking the 7th rank. You're just crushing here. Whoa! What's going on now? Rook e7, oops. Queen g5, ow. g3, doesn't take it. Ay. Okay, well now it's just GG. Okay, so even with your crushing position as used, there's a moment here where I think you made a mistake, right? Not looking enough at the opponent's resources. He's just played rook g6, so you gave him one chance. You pardoned him one time, right? One chance to save the game. And if you just played g3, just blunting that rook, it would have been all set and all over. I had to flag him. He had 15 seconds. Oh, it's showing him as having 0. Yeah, I see what you mean. 16 seconds versus 50. What's the time control? 3 plus 0 or something? Is this a blitz game? Info. 3 minutes and no seconds, I guess. Okay, so if you've got 50 seconds and he's got 16, isn't like hanging a rook the only way you could lose? Like if you play, if you take a few seconds and make sure not to hang anything, he's more likely to flag if your moves are good than if you hang a rook, right? And give him a chance to collect a piece. Hanging a mate in one would be the only way. Okay, well, at least you didn't do that then, right? But yeah, I mean, I'm of Numke's general opinion. The way to flag people, so to speak, is to keep playing good moves. And then, they may flag because your moves are good. And it's not easy for them to play the position. But, okay, I mean, you played a great game here. Bringing the piece into e5 worked nicely. This idea of bringing the knight to b5 was very challenging. And, yeah. You were thinking of playing queen takes h5 right here, just to... Okay. Yeah, I really don't see how queen h5 increases your winning chances here. Thanks for the raid, Games Live. SC Games Live. SC Games Live. Welcome to the show. All right, let's go back to Chess Club. Go to 1600 plus. What games do we have going on right now? We've got a rematch of last week's Fem Tantra versus Dan Shields. Holy moly. That's too good. A rematch, huh? Equal material. Endgame. Bishop pair for white, but split pawns on the queen side. Slightly weak. How fascinating. But I feel like a champion for getting through one epic game, and I think I might retire to clutch my abdomen and sleep for the rapid tournaments tomorrow. Although, I mean, the pain is definitely down a bit. F4 opening this guy up and shutting this guy down. That looks like a good move all around, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to try lying in every different position, Child's pose, happy baby pose, whatever those things are. I'm going to, sick bird on its wing, everything. Okay, this knight's amazing. It defends this pawn and this pawn. That's an issue. White's got to deal with that knight if they want to make any progress here. Yeah, Clock Goblin. Gaurav was playing Jesse's easy system against the French, as he calls it. It's kind of like a refined version of the Milner Berry. I don't think I'm sick. I just have extreme chest pain, Clock Goblin. Either from eating spicy food or doing like too many like chest presses or something at the gym, or I don't know what. I used 2 new machines today that I haven't used in the past, so maybe and that was... Okay, I got out of the swimming pool, and I wasn't like pumped with like my times with my swimming today. I just felt like when I was pulling, like I just didn't feel like there was proper strength or power in my arms, and so I was slightly angry and went... not like angry, just like a little motivated to try and increase my arm strength, which doesn't seem to be happening despite all my efforts. So I went from the swimming pool to the weight room and tried out some new machines, trying to do something for my arms or chest or shoulders or something. And I tried a couple new machines, and maybe that's the source of these crazy pains. Or maybe it's just too much spicy food burning my stomach lining, or gas from something, or I don't know what, but I feel terrible. I did do some... one of the machines said it was for your chest. Yeah. So Stamen saying the bishop on b2 could go after the knight on c5 here. And there's 2 ways to do it. a4 maybe hangs a pawn, so maybe stick with what Stamen's suggesting here. Bishop c3 to b4, go after the knight, then try and go after one of these pawns. Axe plus wood. Love it. Why go to the gym when you could do something useful, right? It might even be a weird combination of the two, right? Yeah. Bishop c3 looks good, Dan Shields. It's funny, I just logged into chess.com today and I had some analysis in my inbox of their game from last week that we watched on Friday Night Fights. The thing is, I don't think I did that much. Like I'm reasonably careful with a new machine. I slowly increased the weight till I got to like my maximum for one repetition, and then I set it to like half of that amount and did like a couple sets of 10 or something at like half of my like one rep maximum. It was nothing insane. It was just a couple machines. I don't know what's wrong with me. So we go here. I want to create tomorrow's rapid tournaments. And to do that, how do I do that? I close this. I might have to close the game for a moment to do it and then reopen it. So go create and make tomorrow's tournaments at least so people can see them on the schedule. So it'll be Saturday Rapid 1800 plus, rated, standard, duration 3 hours instead of 24, and time control 15.5. Starts on Saturday at 9:30 as always. If anyone doesn't know when our Saturday tournaments are, they're at 9:30. 1800 plus. Copy the link. Paste it here. Play command. November 9. 1800 plus. Then let's close it, make the next one. Sorry folks, it's just gonna take a minute here. Then we'll look back at that end game for a bit because it looks pretty interesting. So now we want Saturday Rapid 14 to 1800. $15.5, not Saturday. 9:30. Copy the link. Paste it everywhere else. Close it. Tournament. Make it Club Arena Saturday Rapid 1000 to 1400. $932. Created. Copy it. Close it. And one more to go. We're almost there. Saturday Rapid under 1,000. Start tomorrow at 9:30. No prior experience required for this section. Close it. Okay. I'm back. Clock Goblin, you're criticizing a lot of your moves, which I think were probably pretty good moves. But I see you're really working hard on reviewing the game because you worked so hard playing the game. And that's why analyzing one's games, it's one of the reasons why analyzing one's games is such a great is such a great way to study, because you're so motivated when you put in that effort in a game. It makes it so interesting to then work on the game afterwards. You know, you can't stop thinking about it. You've been messing around with AI music and you could do a dojo song. Cool. Have fun working on that. Drankaplock wants to see what the tournament feeling is like in the 1600 plus. Sure. Right now the standings are, it's like a 7-way tie for first place. There's Dan Shields, Fem Tantra, Danger Donkey, Blunderfest, and Where's the Bread, who each have 2 points. And in terms of games currently going on, there's only one other game that's live at this moment. And what the heck is this position? Oh, there's a bishop hiding on A2. That was a hard one to spot. What? Has white sacked 2 minor pieces as well to go after the black king? It seems so. Let's back up 2 or 3 moves. Drankaplock. So white is coiled here, right? Like a spring. Boom. It comes out. Check. Boom. Knight sack. What? Oops. And then knight g3. I don't know if white saw the queen with this move. Oh, they were planning to take on f7 maybe? I see what white was thinking about there. I get it. You transpose the order of your moves, Merles. That's rough. Yeah. What time zone are you in, Merles? Yeah, that kind of brain slip happens now and then. Happens to me and everyone else, I think. Okay, so me personally, I want to watch this rematch endgame here. It's 12 p.m. for you. Okay. So you're like 1 hour after me. I always thought you have that Indian flag on the you have the Indian flag on your account on chess.com, so I always thought you were in India. Oh, PM. Oh, so that is like India. Okay. Because you said that you played in the morning. Oh, but you weren't talking about the Saturday tournament. You were talking about the Friday tournament. I got confused for a second. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So that means what I'm thinking of as tonight was your morning, and you had a game just now in this tournament where you had that brain slip of the mate in one. Is that right? This has just happened. How did white get the bishop around? White went bishop c1 to e3. Pretty similar to this bishop c3 to b4 idea that that Stamen first suggested for us. And black just holds it, right? Yeah. Now it's a choice for black between trying to bust out or just improve the rooks first. You know, my instinct is that black should improve the rooks now. Oh yeah, I forgot white was down a pawn. The whole time I was looking at this, I forgot that. Okay, well, f6 we can discard. It looks pretty stupid after something like takes, check. King here. And then either e6 or rook b7 or something, but... Or even trade. You know, just kind of dumb for black, right? You just give back the pawn and don't get anything out of it, so... So not f6, which suggests again my instinct of using the rooks here. A lot of French, yeah. The Reti Papa Gambit is a thing that you guys all know about. I don't know what that is. Ugh. So I guess, hey Eduardo Barajas, that command only works for those in the Twitch stream. If you want to find our tournaments, you can maybe find them here through the chess.com Dojo Club link. Yeah, well, you're probably right, no vest for the Dreary, because Clock Goblin was saying that their friend plays b3 on move 2, or their training buddy. He's playing 2 b3, so it sounds like you know what you're talking about. Is g5 a candidate move for black? I suppose so. My instinct is that I don't like it, but yeah, I guess it could be. New age chess nerds know about the Reti Papa Gambit. I mean, I know the line, I just don't know it by that name, right? To clarify, I have seen e4, e6, b3, d5, bishop to b2 before. I've seen it. I just didn't know it by that name. Yeah, the idea of g5 would be to take the fight to a dark square with knight e6 and bishop h6 at some point. That much is thematic and logical. Positionally, black wants to go after a dark square when they've got the knight against this light squared bishop. But my instinct is still like do something for this rook. Yeah. Like I see this move, sure. I see this move, sure. But just I'm going to bring this rook out. So here, for example, is an issue with the bishop h6, knight e6 idea, right? So you go g5, let's say. And white goes maybe bishop d5. Right? Now knight e6 will never really do anything. And if you play e6, you've cut off your own knight e6 move, and white just comes here. And, you know, my first thought here was to move the king like this. I was going to, you know, wait a moment, and then against this move, play bishop d5, or against this move, play bishop d5. Sorry. Okay, you guys still think g5. Bishop d5, e6 here, takes, and now you play f6, huh? Yeah, now I'm really wishing I played the king f2 move first, like I wanted to. Well, there's other things to do, Cartier. Like you're like experimenting with AI and music. You know, there's lots of cool things to do, and you can always come back to chess at some point. You know, I recently made a realization and a decision that, you know, may not be welcome here on the dojo, but kind of like you wondering about, you know, playing chess or the choices of what you spend your time and your life on. I recently realized that I should play Go. I'm not going to say exactly completely instead of chess, but the time playing Go would come from my chess playing time. And the background on this is I think Go is the best game, period, in the world. And chess is like maybe the second best, at least to me and of what I know. Now, I learned chess first, and then I learned Go much later. By the time I learned Go, I was already a chess player. Sorry, I was already a chess teacher. And I chose not to pursue Go because I wanted to remember the feeling of my chess students, where they look at a board and they see like 4 or 5 different candidate moves and are confused and don't know how to choose between them. Right? When I play Go, I look at the board and to me there's like 30 candidate moves at least. And it's just all, you know, sort of like swimming there. I have no idea which one's better or worse or anything like that. Just complete confusion about like all these possibilities and how to weigh them. And that was a feeling that I wanted to be able to recapture to be a better chess teacher. So because I wanted to be a good chess teacher, I deliberately avoided reading any Go books or like, you know, really studying. I would just play occasionally to remember the feeling, but not enough to ever get better. But I realize I'm far enough through my life at this point that, you know, I'm already, you know, I've done much of what I'm going to do as a chess teacher. And if I have one life, I'm not going to, you know, reach my deathbed and be like, oops, I never played the best game that there is. Right? Like, I'm many things. One of the things I am is somebody who enjoys playing games. I'm not going to be like, oops, I forgot to ever get around to Go and play it. So I recently like remembered. I was like, oh yeah, it's time. It's time to finally play and study and learn Go. You know, I've waited 20 years. So, yeah. Oh, the pain continues to recede. Score 1 for milk, I guess. A Go game is like maybe 150 to 200 moves long, I want to say, for the players. Maybe about 200 moves each. And if you were to play it in a tournament, you'd probably spend a little bit more time than on a chess game. Like maybe like an 8-hour time control. I've never been. I don't really know. But I know that, really good players used to play a normal game over 2 days, like professional players. So they'd play half of the game and then adjourn and then play the other half for a single game. That was standard. So I think it's, a little bit harder than chess, and people spend a little bit longer on it as well. Not like 10 million times harder than chess, right? But like a little bit. Because I don't like origami as much as games. No best for the jury. For someone else, yeah, maybe origami would be the thing. But I don't love folding paper. I'm not particularly good at it, and I find not getting the folds right to be more frustrating than entrancing and interesting. Whereas playing games, I find very, very interesting. I think Go is somewhat calculation intense, but it also has positional stuff, just like chess. So it's kind of, there are probably Go players who are really good at calculating and other Go players who have really good, positional sense, so to speak. So I think there's probably both. Yeah, it's hard to find, or at least 20 years ago, when I was young and learned Go, there wasn't a lot of Go going on. Like, it wouldn't have been, it's not easy to find people in the US to play Go with. I haven't heard that before, Clock Goblin, so you're welcome. Welcome to say it. So, yeah, Fem Tantra is spending a long time on this move after bishop e3, and it is a huge decision, right? Between g5, f6, and some rook move that I'm thinking of, maybe. For the 5x5 board. Yeah, that's possible. I mean, you could solve Go. I could solve Go for a 1x1 board or a 3x3 board. Go is generally played on a 9x9 board chessful for beginners. And then, like, maybe sometimes a 13x13 board gets used as well. And the main game is played on a 19x19 board. And on a 19x19, that's what any, like, experienced or tournament player would use mainly. And I think would not yet be solved. So, first of all, I think I sent Fem Tantra a message earlier today saying, use your time, and they have. So, good job by them. I think one of the lovely things about Go is it has all those sort of like proverbs, like your opponent's vital spot is your own, or something like that, right? I like that. Where can I find that, Alexa? The Go documentary? Never throw good stones at bad, yeah. It's on YouTube and it's brilliant. Is it about AlphaGo? AlphaGo the movie, full award-winning documentary. So it'll be about the match between AlphaGo and Lee Sedol. Oh yeah, I found it. Thank you. That's great. Someone reminded me recently to watch it, and now you've reminded me again. At some point, I definitely got to watch it. Beta Go. I mean, they've got beta releases of almost everything. Almost every tech thing goes through a beta phase. All right, we haven't analyzed anything with a rook move. Let's just put the most basic rook move on the board. Excuse me. But I'm very excited to do that. So this also deals with bishop takes c5, b takes c5, rook to the 7th at some point. That's correct, Stamen USA. They've got table bases for 7 pieces. So that's like complete solution of everything, but yeah, still a long, long way to go. Yeah, it's like the good thing and the problem at the same time for Go and chess, right? It takes a lot to really get into it and get deep into it, right? So but if it didn't, you wouldn't be that interested in it, right? So that's why we're interested in it, is because they have that depth and that interest level. Right, so Merle says you could make the trade and then pop the rook. And then it comes here and you come back and you've recovered your pawn for free. So white is comfortable there. I'm going to set this up on my real board. This position is worthy, for sure. So is there any move for black to really give white some trouble while they're trying to win back the pawn? Man, I set it up on a 3D board and I instantly, like in seconds, came up with two ideas that had escaped me as I sit here staring at my screen. So here's one idea. Now the bishop can't trade for you and break up the structure, right? You threaten knight here, which they have to deal with. And you open up this file to go rook c8 and access the pawn in some cases, right? Okay, that was the first idea. The second idea was you just go rook c8. To win this pawn, they're doing this at some point. You take, and if they get your pawn, you get this one. Meanwhile, with rook c8, you're clearing the way for this rook to come to d8. And, you know, like let's say white goes here, and you go here. I guess they could take this way now. Yeah, I think knight a4, there's probably rook b3. I agree. I've thought of that. So we could get here. That said, this position here, even this one looks pretty pleasant for black, right? With the compact structure. This pawn's just bad. This bishop's good. It was like, okay, white should draw if they're a great endgame player, but this is immediately uncomfortable for white. Very, very simple. Rook c8, bishop f1. Right, but so this is the moment where black can also play a move like knight a4, knight e4 now, right? And if you take here, there's knight c3, and they're opening up the threat. I guess white could take this way. Cover the knight, rook takes, and then some kind of just, there's no discovery. Yeah, I've definitely been thinking of leaving the city. But there's things I like about the city as well. I'm very used to it. Bishop e3. Wow. Femtantra's still in the tank here. My instinct now is that this rook c8 move looks pretty nice. Flexible. Logical. If you didn't have this pawn on the board, you know, we would have put a rook on the c file long ago. Oh, you can have lots of fun being middling at something, for sure. You don't need to be great at something to enjoy it. You want to be good at something for once. Yeah, it's fine to pursue something and be good at it, but you should be able to have multiple other things that you do in your life that you're not that good at and you still enjoy. You know, like I really enjoy writing rap songs, despite being, you know, millions of miles away from ever being able to be a professional. You know, and sometimes I'm like working on some of that, and then I like look at some songs from professionals, and it's like, oh, it's so good. Who would ever want to listen to my song? But then I remember like all the people in the chess dojo studying chess, right? Like, we're not all playing like Carlsen. Maybe nobody's waiting to like review our games hot off the presses like they are for Aragai's games every day. That doesn't mean we can't play chess and enjoy playing chess, you know, so I can write a rap song that maybe no one else will ever hear, or 5 other people will hear and they won't even like it, but I can still, spend my time doing something that's fun and interesting for me. We can't all be like the top in the field at every single activity that we participate in. And I agree with Cartier that even if you're a mid-level player, you can create something beautiful. I mean, we saw a game today by Gaurav, right, against Clock Goblin, and these players are both rated 1400, a far cry from professional, and they were just playing fantastic moves, right? And we even got to see a queen sack. I mean, Cartier is now probably around 2000, but I remember when Cartier was about 1800, and Cartier was playing games that were works of art. And again, I mean, 1800 is a strong player, but again, a far cry from being a super grandmaster, right? And Cartier could have an artistic sense and purpose in his games, and have an artistic achievement in the games too. So you've been around for a long time, Hades. I guess you've got eternal in your name. But yeah, thanks for the kind message. You were a mod back then. Okay, cool. Yeah, chess has changed a lot since then. Those were nice days, I was young and energetic back then, I would say. It was a fun period for me, personally. And I'm not going to say I predicted everything that would ever happen in the chess world, but a lot of what's happening in the chess world we were envisioning back then, and we were aiming for it, right? So, Speed Chess Championships, Titled Tuesday, live commentary around the clock on chess TV channels via the internet, all that kind of stuff we were dreaming of. I didn't dream of like mittens and Bong Cloud meme openings. So those are examples of things I didn't predict or envision. But I definitely had, there were definitely things that we had that were kind of like a vision of where chess could be that have played out. So. How can you improve at chess? Asks KDHHDHHUFHH. Well, there's many things you can do. My number one piece of advice for you would be to go to ChessDojo.club and join the Chess Dojo. Let's see what FemTantra has done here. Rook C8 after 31 minutes. Ha! So, as I was gonna say, my first advice would be to go to ChessDojo.club and join the training program. If you really want to improve, that's like the best thing there, and it includes all my suggestions. Right? Like I could talk to you for 100 hours about how to improve at chess, but I've already Kostya and Jesse and I have recorded videos and created exercises on all these subjects already. So that would be the easy answer for me. And the second answer would be if you don't like that and it sounds like, you know, a pitch for me to try and take your money or something, which is not what I'm about, but you don't know, play slow games, then talk about them with your opponent afterwards, and then analyze them after that. So play, discuss, analyze. The slowest time control that you're up for, you know, and that seems like interesting to you, depending on your level. You know, you could play a game with 2 hours each, but depending on where you're at, you might not know what to think about for 2 hours, and that might not be the right time control for you. But the slowest time control that's of interest to you, where you feel like you've got things to think about to fill up the time, and then talk about it, and then analyze it, and repeat. We play this tournament every Friday night, where we play classical chess, which means for the players over 1600, they're playing 90 minutes with a 30-second increment. The players under 1600 are playing 45 minutes with a 30-second increment. So if that speaks to you, you could join us some Friday nights and play with us. If you're more of a 15-minute person, we have tournaments every Saturday morning. You can see. Let's test this command if it's working for tomorrow. Saturday, November 9th, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, arenas. Broken up by rating, 15 minutes plus 5 second time control. It's not a bad place to start if you're more of a beginner and don't want to spend an hour or two on a game. All right, and then I just want to, echo Clock Goblin, echoing me in a sense, Clock Goblin saying, I spend a lot of time in art spaces pushing for the same attitude. Building spaces where everyone feels like they can do the thing, whether it be singing, acting, whatever, than a place where only a few super technical people get to participate and everyone else sits and nods and is like, oh yeah, I'm appreciating it. That's really high level, high quality. Do I ever participate in the fight nights? So far, since this iteration of them, I've only been commenting. I think long ago when Jesse and Kostya did the fight nights, I may have played 1 or 2 games against Dordom or some other people. One or another of my games may have been on a fight night. But right now, it doesn't work for Jesse or Kostya to do commentary. So, it's me doing it. I should just schedule a night like that where I play and someone else comments. But I'd have to, plan in advance and find the right commentator and all that. And we'll do it at some point. For now, I should probably get to bed because I've got the whole rapid tournament tomorrow morning and I don't feel well. Let's see what Foos is telling me before I go. Yeah, for me, for now, no vest. With the timing on it, it's just me bouncing around between the games and the sections. Super strong move, I think, from Fem Tantra, if I do say so myself, that being my move. And Dan Shields is according it proper respect and going into a deep think, him, her, themself as well. Yeah, Hades Eternal. The cool thing is I'm still enjoying what I'm doing here, right? So that's nice. We're still doing something fun and cool. And yeah, more things to come. And there's great things other than chess as well out there for us to do. MLB G5 was a main candidate move for black here as well. Probably the number one alternative to Rook C8 was G5. We discussed it a bit maybe 20 minutes ago while Fem Tantra was thinking, but in the end, they picked this move, which is my favorite move here. G5 was definitely better than F6. I think I more or less refuted F6 fairly simply here. I just traded checked, sent the king into the corner, traded again, and then recovered the pawn. I could also put the rook on the 7th rank first before recovering this pawn, since the pawn looks pretty dead. And black's not dead or anything, but white's like a tiny bit better, right? I mean, maybe it's just a draw. Maybe you put a rook here, f5, bishop d4, draw. Maybe. But it's not like excellent for black. Whereas with rook c8, I think it's like clear that black's a tiny bit better. Whatever white does, the c pawn on c4 is going to be a bad pawn here, right? Because black's preserving this nice structure on the queen side just by always being able to recapture with the rook. So any scenario here, right, there may be scenarios where white gets the pawn back. For example, we considered, where is it? When did I finally get rook c8 on the board? Rook c8, bishop f1. What did I do? Like rook fd8, takes here. White's got the pawn back, right? Excuse me. White takes the pawn back, right? But you can see that it's just a simple scenario where black is slightly better than white. Do you agree? Split pawns. This bishop's a little bit hampered by the c pawn and this pawn structure here, whereas this one can get out. And I mean, what I said earlier about this position was, you know, a great endgame player probably still draws with white, but you couldn't argue that the position's equal or that black's not better, really. Nobody would do that. So that's kind of, to my mind, that's what rook c8 ensures, is like there's just no scenario anymore that's not pleasant for black. Yeah, so I really like this move. Pratik asks, would I consider IM Mark Esserman the strongest IM in the US right now? No. Does he play actively in tournaments right now? Is Andy Woodward a GM already or not? He's a grandmaster. Okay. Andy Woodward made GM, so it's not him. But Pratik, I would assume that the strongest IM in the US is somebody, you know, between age 15 and 20 who plays a lot of tournaments. Yeah. Like the odds that it's Mark Esserman are I think if you ask anybody in the US, you'd get the same answer, that there's like no chance it's Mark. I mean, he's a good IM. He was a very good IM 10 years ago, but see, Foos is giving you a reasonable name, right? Alice Lee, right? She's an IM, super strong, playing all the time, you know, in full-on training. She's not streaming blitz games or doing anything else other than playing chess, probably, you know. You want to know who the strongest IM in the country is, you probably go to the US top lists, right? The rating top lists. And you go to the under 21 list and just find the highest rated 2 or 3 people who are juniors. Yeah, Carissa Yip, even better choice, right? She's a bit stronger than Alice still. Current US women's champion, just sort of demonstrated it a couple weeks ago. Do they still have top rating lists? Looks like they might not even... Oh, there they go. Top 100 lists. So then you just go... under age 21, right? Abhimanyu Mishra is a GM. Andrew Hong is a GM. Chris Yu is a GM. Brandon Jacobson is a GM. Andy Woodward is a GM. Justin Wang. Let's look him up. international master, rated 25-27 FIDE and 26-20 USCF. Age 19. There you've got a candidate for yourself. Right, so there's a good candidate for you. You got Carissa Yip, and you've got this Justin Wang, who's probably stronger since he's like almost 100 points higher rated. Mark has defeated guys like Nigel Short. Yeah, Loic Van Welle. 20 plus GMs. Question would be best IM to never make GM. Yeah. I mean, I've also beaten more GMs than I can count in tournaments. I've tried remembering and counting it, and I can't. But Mark has a somewhat similar style to me, or profile to me, in that like this is 10 years ago, not now, right? But very tactical, taking lots of risks, very complicated games. So you're going to win more games against really strong players because you're taking your chances, right? But you're also going to lose more games against lower rated players and against GMs that other IMs might draw. So you can't focus too much on the big wins. Does that make sense, Pratik? Like what's more important, honestly, is sort of your average performance as demonstrated by your rating, And I don't think Mark's ever been over 2,500 FIDE. And there are IMs who have been. So I would say, IMs who've been over 2,500 are the strongest IMs who never made GM, right? Yeah. And you should not overestimate the wins of... you should not overestimate the strength of wilder tactical players based on their best games, right? You have to average it with their worst games, and their worst games are going to be worse than somebody else who's got less great games. I'd rather be somebody like Mark Kraai, who has a bunch of really wonderful, great wins and then a bunch of horrible losses, than somebody who has a bunch of middling draws. But that's a totally different question. It doesn't actually mean that we're good at chess. Oh, you should be able to find it online, Stamen. It's out there somewhere. All right. I got to get to bed. We've got rapid tournaments in the morning. Fem Tantra and Dan Shields are doing a great job here, taking their time. Yeah, he was a maverick and an innovator. Absolutely. And, it's something we have in common. Like, I played whatever the knight takes f7 gambit is called in the Petrov defense, Pratik, you should check out my game with Mark Esserman. We have like a really, really excellent game we played with each other long ago at a tournament I organized. That's it, the Cochrane. I played the Cochrane. I was a specialist in the King's Gambit, some similar stuff. Anyway, have a great day or night, everybody. This was lots of fun. And, I'll probably see some of you soon enough for the rapid tournaments tomorrow. All right. Cheers. We owe a raid to somebody.